Well, I will say that, well, I was a bit surprised by the decision of the leadership of the party, but clearly it's a decision of the party, and so I respect that decision.
What's the likely implication? And I was just asking Cletus Savoca a while ago about the implication. He says that it's dire. You're going into a major election. You should be focusing on your common quote-unquote enemy, which is the NPP going forward into the 2024 elections. And now you'd have to deal with the internal rancor. Do you see that playing out in Parliament as well?
If Cletus Savoca said that, then I beg to differ. In fact, and also to differ with Sami. Sami has been working with Parliament for some time now. And he will not be able to tell me at any point that the minority members of leadership of Parliament or the majority leadership of Parliament were selected by the members of Parliament, or in the selection process those members consulted.
That's a critical point you're raising, because in the debate now, there's the question as to consultation, why they've not been consulted, at least why the national executives did not reach out to a few of them.
I've been in Parliament long enough to say on authority that when we won election, I went to Parliament in 2006. So I met the current speaker during his second term as the minority leader. I was there when we won election 2009, and tell me at the front bench which members of Parliament were consulted before the front bench of the majority was chosen, or which members of Parliament were consulted before the front bench of the minority, then the MPP, were chosen. I was in Parliament when we lost election 2016 and formed the minority in 2017. And Sami Dako, or Sami Obin, no minority member of Parliament was consulted when Haruna Idrisu's team was were chosen as leadership of the minority in Parliament. Now, I have also looked at the NDC constitution, and I don't see any provision that requires that the leadership of the party in choosing leadership of the party in Parliament has to consult the members of Parliament. I have also looked at the standing orders. The standing orders do not say that the members of Parliament on either side of the House has to choose their leaders. The standing orders does not say.
Okay, yeah, so let's get clarity on that. What's the provision of the standing orders then?
So, well, the standing order says that the leader of the largest group in Parliament, other than the group or party that forms government, is the minority leader. That's what the standing order says. The leader of the largest group or party in Parliament, other than the party that forms government, is the minority leader. So that leader could be chosen by the party.
So then, what then happens? We're seeing a letter from the leadership of the NDC. Should the speaker regard that letter? Because the argument is we've not seen this before.
Yes, the speaker does not choose the leadership of either party in Parliament. The speaker has absolutely nothing to do with the selection process of the leadership of Parliament. What the speaker does is to recognize that leadership.
So then to the big question, how prudent is this decision for the NDC? You're a member of the party, you're equally concerned.
I believe what the party has done is to strategically reposition the party in Parliament for election 2024. They are moving the chips to ensure that the party plays its critical role, because the battleground for election 2024, which is about 23 months away, will be fought in Parliament. And they are moving the chips to get the leadership that, in his view, can work to meet the legitimate interests, aspirations, and expectations of the party in Parliament.
Okay. This continuous perception that Muntaka and Haruna Idrisu appear to be compromised. I mean, you're closer to the MPs. What's the backstory to this?
Well, there's no backstory. It's just a perception that and that perception is when their actions fail to meet the expectation of the generality of the people of Ghana, and at times even their own members or colleagues in Parliament. Now, once upon a time, when we were to vote, when Parliament was to vote on whether or not the Deputy Speaker can vote, there was a walkout. Some of their colleagues did not support the walkout. Who engineered the walkout? What was it intended to achieve? Some of the colleagues in Parliament did not know what that walkout was intended to achieve. It is that fuels the perception of a compromise. I have no evidence whatsoever of leadership of the minority during my time in Parliament compromising themselves. But such inconsistent actions lend credence to the fact that the leadership sometimes do not conduct themselves to the expectation of their colleagues.
And is it your belief, sorry to cut through, but is it your belief that Haruna Idrisu was not able to successfully demonstrate to his colleagues that, well, I'm not compromised, neither is
no, I don't want to
Muntaka Mubarak.
I don't want to narrow this discussion to Haruna Idrisu.
Right.
I have worked with Haruna Idrisu very closely, even before he got to Parliament. I know him so well. Indeed, he's my brother. So I don't want to narrow the discussion to Haruna
but do you feel that these two individuals were not able to demonstrate that commitment, solidarity with their colleagues, a reason for which all of these rumors and perceptions started within rank and file of the NDC?
Well, it is not to demonstrate commitment to their colleagues. Members of Parliament, when they get elected into Parliament, do not work to meet the approval of their colleagues in Parliament. They work to meet the approval of their constituents who have sent them to Parliament and the party on whose ticket they stood to get to Parliament. So the assessment regime is larger than you think. Constituents are assessing the performance of the individual MPs and the group in Parliament to determine whether indeed the way they are performing their duties is acceptable. And the party itself, once a while, goes to or sends directives to the group in Parliament on how, in its view, it must discharge its duties. And so for members of Parliament to say that, well, or for me to say that a member of Parliament worked to meet my aspirations and expectations is neither here nor there, because I'm not the final determinant of whether meeting my aspirations will let that member of parliament, if he is in the leadership position, to continue to be in that position.
Okay, so let's look at the way forward then. What's your expectation from the leadership of the NDC, I mean, by extension, the executives, and also these new leaders? What would you want to see in terms of closing the ranks, trying to solve the potential faults and cracks that may emerge after this appointment?
The first thing that happens after a party determining the leadership of the party in parliament is for the party to arrange to meet the caucus in parliament. That's the first thing that will happen. So you can be sure between now and 7th February, when the party will be meeting or parliament will be reconvening, the party will have worked to meet the caucus and explain to them why they think there is a need to change leadership in parliament. The leaders themselves, Tuforson will have a responsibility, indeed a duty, to ensure that he wins the trust and confidence of his colleagues in parliament, because they are to support him in the performance of his duties as a minority leader. Emmanuel Kofi Amapua will have to support, assure Parliament, the minority caucus in Parliament, and Atuforson that he will support him to the hilt because he is his deputy. As for Abuja, the minority chief whip is a fulcrum around which parliamentary business is done. So he has enormous powers. He has carrots as well as sticks. He determines where or which member travels to where. He determines which member can absent himself from parliament with permission of the speaker. He determines how members of parliament must vote in the interest of the party. So he has a 3-line whip that he can invoke to ensure. And he has sticks. If a member of parliament is recalcitrant enough to disobey the whip, there will be sanctions. You remember what happened in Boris Johnson's government and the European Union and Britain, I mean, when they were looking for Brexit, that some of the Conservative Party members voted against Boris Johnson. They lost their seats. That was a sanction. They were whipped to vote for Brexit, and they voted against it. They lost their seats. Some lost their ministerial positions. That is the power of the whip, both in the presidential system and the parliamentary system. So I'm sure they are going to, I mean, they are colleagues. First of all, Atuforson, Bua, Adaklo, that is Adaklo MP.
Governs Abuja.
Have been elected leaders precisely because they are MPs. That's the first qualification. You must be an MP before you be a minority leader. So they are just like their colleagues. Right. They have been in parliament for some time now. They have distinguished themselves. Abuja was the ranking member on roads and transport. In fact, he was a deputy chairman when NDC was in power of Roads and Transport Committee. Bua was in the 7th Parliament the chairman of the Committee on Trade and Industries. And he discharged his duties. Right,
I get the point. So they are all MPs. But then, just to pick up on Alhaji Muntaka Mubarak, I was asking that same question as you're doing it here, about how he sacrificed, and of course he received a lot of commendations from rank and file of the NDC when he secured the speakership for the NDC. You feel that he deserves a reward, isn't it? At least by retaining him, just retaining him where he is.
Is he being punished? Is he being punished?
I guess he's being demoted.
I don't think that Muntaka is being punished. And in this particular case, no one is being punished. The party is just strategically repositioning itself. And that is not punishment. It's in the collective interest of Muntaka and all the outgoing leaders that NDC wins election 2020.
Okay. Right. Right.
That's why I'm saying that they have to subsume their interests under the collective interest of the party. It's definitely in their interest that NDC wins power. And so no one is being punished.
All right.